Oh my goodness. Ian, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yep.
Ah, there you are. Look at you. You look so professional with your headset on.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, I'm ready. It's so nice to get a live face with a name. We met only last week. Was it last week? In
Yeah, I think.
a
Yep.
singles Facebook group? Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this. It's exciting to, step out of my comfort zone and try something new.
Yeah. Well, your lighting is really good. I like your office. Are you working from home?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a video game designer, so I can do a lot of my stuff from home, which is awesome.
Wow, video game designer. How
hmm
long have you been doing that?
Um, since about 2004, so it's been quite a while.
Hmm,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
I I used to work for LucasArts making Star Wars games and stuff at the beginning of my career, and it's sort of taken me cross country back and forth a bit, which is,
Really? Okay.
yeah,
How long have you been in North Carolina? When did you land here?
about 6 years ago. Yeah, came out here for work and yeah, been
And you
enjoying
haven't
it.
left yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you from originally? Oh, actually, it's a tough question for you to answer. I'm remembering now.
Oh yeah,
Well, you moved around a lot, right?
I did. Yeah, yeah. So I was a military brat. My dad was actually in the Coast Guard. So
Hmm.
I was born in London, but we moved fairly soon after I was born. So unfortunately, I don't have the accent or any of that other stuff.
The accent's charming, but I'm sure you enjoy a glass of tea now and then.
I definitely do. Yeah.
Cup of tea. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, anyway, I'm really grateful that you've come on to do this with me because I love meeting new people and I always have a lot of questions. And also, I love poetry and you had something to share, which I thought was really cool. But
Yeah.
first, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a video game designer.
Yep. I'm a video game designer. I have two kids, so single dad, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on. I'm polyamorous, which is a little different than, or a little atypical, I guess.
Well, I see, I kind of understand because I'm a vegetarian.
Okay,
And
yeah,
okay.
pretty much
I'm-
the same thing, right?
No, but yeah, I was thinking about this before the call started, and I was thinking that you were polyamorous and
hmm
how I'm totally ignorant. I don't know anything about that, but I kind of liken it to people asking me if I eat cheese or eggs, and I do because eggs aren't fertilized, and I do it for spiritual reasons. But I was thinking, well, he's polyamorous. What does he eat?
I eat all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. Well, I was calling you a polygamist, so
Yeah,
I guess you know
definitely
what? There's kind
not
of
the same
a
thing.
okay. I'm very interested in sharpening that blur for me because I really have no idea. Yeah. How
Yeah.
are you doing with the COVID thing? Anyway, as in regards to dating, since we did meet in a dating
hmm
Facebook group, how's that going for you? What's that like?
Uh, it's definitely tricky. I mean, I'm a bit more cautious than some people seem to be. And so like I have met a few people like for like a walk around a lake, at social distance, but I haven't really done anything inside with anybody,
Hmm.
and there's sort of a strange point where you're out on a date with somebody and traditionally there would be a point in the evening, where like you might want to get a little bit closer to them, whether it would be like maybe touching their hand or like a hand on their shoulder or maybe even a kiss at the end or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
sort of with COVID, you have to kind of like you don't get any of that physical stuff, especially if you're trying to stay 6 feet apart or whatever it is, and you have masks on or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you can't really do that, and it's a strange moment where you have to sort of decide, is this person potentially worth the risk of getting sick?
I was just saying that on a podcast I started with some girlfriends. Did you
hmm
watch Seinfeld back in the day?
a bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember the episode where they discontinued Elaine's sponges?
I
I-
don't think I remember that one. What?
It was really funny because dating all of these guys, and she only has a set limited number of sponges left, and she's asking, is he sponge worthy? This is important. And in COVID, it's kind of the same thing, because people have their pods, and then when you meet somebody and say it doesn't go super well, you lay off of it for 10 days to 2 weeks, and then you try again, if you want to keep her safe. So
yeah, totally.
yeah, I remember when this thing first started and having my first Zoom dates. Have you ever tried that? A Zoom date?
I've done a few of those. I'm in a single parents of the Triangle group, and they have kind of a subgroup for like dating for single parents.
Oh.
And they do something called like Spinder the Bottle, which is kind of fun, where they like randomly pair people up with other people. And the point is that it is pretty fun. Like a lot of people kind of find it intimidating, but the point of it is just to like encourage you to reach out to somebody you might not have talked to before. And so I've done some like, some virtual, dates with people, and, haven't been any like, love connections yet, but it's been really great to meet new people and talk in that way.
I think so too. Well, people are interesting. So maybe there haven't been any love connections, but have there been any sort of crazy antidotes coming out about this? Like, I don't know, you meet anybody worth putting, on the poster at the United States Post Office or anything? Or
I haven't met anybody quite to that level yet, but
okay.
I mean, I hear.
Well, you're not trying hard enough, so
clearly, yeah. I mean, I need to bump it up a notch or something.
Yeah. How are you meeting people anyway? On dating apps or mostly the Facebook thing?
I mean, I'm trying everything, like cast a wide net and all that, but I mean, it's hard, it's.
Oh, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, like the dating apps are really hard for both people or both, all genders in different regards. But, for guys especially, it's like I send out lots of messages and likes and all the other things, and it's like crickets. Like you never hear anything back from anybody.
I hear that from a lot of men. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of go in cycles where sometimes I have the energy for it, and then I kind of get disheartened. I'm like, why bother? It's not worth the effort,
It's very
and then
easy to get fatigued for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's a cycle. But
well, we'll just put your phone number on the show notes, or maybe I'll
like
flash it across the screen. Yeah.
Right.
Give me your height. What color are your eyes? Yeah.
Yeah. They're
Turn
blue.
this into a meat market, right?
Right. Why not?
Yeah. I've just stopped. I just really don't want to. But I joined the Facebook group because I feel like those are my people, right? We just had the holidays. We're quarantining, and most people are with families and stuff. And I like meeting other singles and just kind of talk about how they're navigating it, because we're going through the same thing, the isolation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that too. And I was very shy and introverted growing up, and I still am an introvert, but I've gotten more socially. I'm kind of pushing towards the dividing line between introvert and extrovert.
Right.
But especially since my separation, and divorce, I've been like really kind of pushing those boundaries, and trying to, broaden my horizons, get braver and whatnot. So,
well, coming on this is a very good start. Can I ask, how long have you been separated and divorced?
It's been over 2 years at this point.
Wow, that's a good amount of time. Yeah, and you got divorced in North Carolina, of course, so you had to wait that whole year.
A year and a day, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so technically, we're not divorced yet. We have the separation agreement signed. We have everything filled out, but we have to go to the courthouse to like get everything officially signed off, and the judge has to, approve it and all that other stuff. But COVID, so I don't know if the courthouse is even open right now.
Yeah, COVID's keeping us married longer than we wish to be. Yeah, no, my divorce became official over a month now, December 7th. And
congrats.
Thank you. I wish more people would say that. Yeah, I feel like, and then she lived happily ever after. So yeah,
absolutely.
Not that I was in a rush to get divorced on paper, because, as a woman, you can decide whether or not to change your name. I just kept it because it's kind of a pain in the neck, plus whatever. And also, I had to change over insurance and car insurance, and it's kind of a chore. I feel like anyone who does that deserves like one extra free personal day to run out to do whatever the hell they got to do to get their old life back. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. Forever ain't as long as it used to be.
Yeah.
Which is
Uh,
going to be another thing that we talk about later on. I'm really interested in
yeah,
discussing this polyamory.
yeah. It's been
Hmm.
a journey. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
One super side note. It looks like there's like a big microphone or something that's like blocking part of your face. I don't know if that's intentional, but
Oh, super intentional. I was going to wear a mask and sunglasses,
yes.
but how about now? I got to talk into the mic. So I've been
Okay,
having
cool.
some technical issues. You're actually my first interview where I actually got my shit together. So I have
All
this nice
right.
mic. I've got my camera set up. I look professional. I'm
You
doing it
totally
right.
do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I invested in this mic a little over a year ago. I started two podcasts. I don't know if I
Hmm.
told you about that. Sleeping with Heather, which I help
Okay.
talk people to sleep because I
Oh yeah.
can meander like the rest, like the best of them. And then I started a podcast with some girlfriends of mine called Musingocity. And I guess you can compare it to The View, but I just have a good time. You know, it's funny, starting podcasts, I always liken it to starting a band. So everyone's,
Hmm.
you know, it's not the 90s grunge scene anymore. This is the everyone's getting a microphone. So, and I've been
Yeah.
doing some voiceover work too. So this has been helpful with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been listening to some of your other shows. I mean, you've got a great voice, so I can totally see it.
Oh,
You know.
thank you.
Yeah. What kind of voiceovers are you doing?
Well, I just narrated my first audiobook. It's called
Cool.
The Ingenue. Yes, and it's by a local author, William Wager, and
Hmm.
it was interesting. It's not the type of book that I would normally read. It's about ginger vampires.
Okay. Like
It was
redheaded vampires, or what do you mean
red.
ginger vampires?
Oh,
Like,
I'm
do they
sorry.
just?
Are ginger is that derogatory? I apologize.
No, I don't know.
I've
I
got
just
some
want
red
to.
flecks, so I can say that. So yeah, some red-headed vampires, but I'll tell you, I actually really enjoyed it. I got to the last chapter. I was
Hmm.
eager, you know, so I'm learning. I'm actually reading books through this process, which is
That's that's
yeah,
awesome,
feeling smarter. Yeah,
right? That's
yeah,
always a win.
yeah.
I, I may
What
have
about
to.
some new things that you have delved into with COVID and having some extra time now? Did you work from home before, or this is new?
No. So in my industry, like, there's always been this big. Um, I hesitate to say anything without getting in trouble, but they've always kind of told us, or there's been an understanding that, like, because all the stuff we work on is super secret, and if it leaks, it could mean tons of money and bad publicity and whatever else, that like we have to do everything in the office, and like
Yeah,
they're really secure. And we always got the impression that we couldn't do things from home.
yeah,
And so like then COVID hit, and like it took a lot of work for them to allow us to do it and get the programs and infrastructure in place. But it
right.
turns out that we can do it. And like honestly, I think I'm just as productive, if not more so, as I was at the office. Um,
Really? Okay.
yeah.
Well, we're
So.
all having to do things we've never done before. I actually just heard
Hmm.
a podcast in which they talk about employee production or how productive you're being from home. It's called Hidden Brain. And
Okay.
I can't remember the podcast episode, but if I find it, I'll just put it in the show notes. But I found it really interesting. And what's happening now with offices meeting on Zoom, people who would not normally pipe up in personal person-to-person meetings, they're coming more aggressive. They're feeling safe in their homes and they're contributing more. So it's been interesting the changes we've seen.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And when we first started doing it, some of the programs have like a button you can press that like kind of raises your hand,
Right.
and like that's been kind of interesting seeing how that evolves. And this may be getting super dorky, but
Mm,
like normally it would be like the people that would talk in person would be talking in the online meetings, and those of us who maybe don't talk as much would kind of be quiet and sitting there and listening. But like now that like you can like press a button to raise your hand, like you
right.
don't have to fight for attention. And like people like at first we were all like, what is this icon next to their name? What does that mean? And eventually somebody was like, oh, it's raising their hand, they want to say something. And so now people are it's kind of like when you're driving and like you let somebody in front of you, like it kind of
Yeah.
feels like that. People are like paying attention to it and be like, oh, like Jake wants to say something. Let's hear from Jake. So like it's kind of cool. And
So,
it is still kind of a mix of like people with their hands up and people that just talk. And
right, right. Or
but
people who just point their camera at the ceiling, like I
yeah,
prefer to do. Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of, you were saying that you're an introvert, but you kind of teeter. Do you happen to know your MBTI out of curiosity?
That's the IN whatever.
Yeah. Close.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you know what I'm
I'm
talking about.
yeah. I just wanted there's like all kinds of different classifications, but I wanted to
16.
make sure
Yeah.
I knew the one you're talking about. Yeah, I'm an INFJ. So
You're an INFJ?
yeah, supposedly we're super rare, but I keep running into other ones online. So I'm thinking maybe we're not as rare as people
Or
say.
they're online because they're introverts, maybe.
Could be. Very, very well could be.
So you're an INFJ. You're like 1% of the population. Yeah.
I guess. I mean, everybody likes to think that they're unique and special, but
You
so
are a little snowflake. Oh,
right.
I'm an ENFP. Do you know anything
Oh,
about
cool.
do you know anything about the INFJ ENFP dynamic?
No.
No. Yeah. So there are only four types that lead with their intuition as their dominant function. So it's
Hmm.
ENFP, INTJ, INFJ, and I want to say it's ENTP. And then
Okay.
there's a group that lead by sensing, and then there's another four that are feelers, and I can't remember them all, but apparently our cognitive functions mirror each other. So
That's cool.
yeah. Oh, I love meeting fellow intuitives. We're so rare. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think because of it, I've been a weirdo my whole life. But it's because I didn't realize that I was an intuitive living in a world with what, 80 to 90% of sensors. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's been a good self discovery tool, if anything.
Hmm. Yeah, I love those type of things, and I think it's like mine is called the advocate or something like that. So and yeah, like every now and again, like I try to be pretty open-minded and non-judgmental and stuff, but every now and again there's something where I'm just like, no, this is how it should be, or like, no, this is really dumb, or like this is the decision we should make. And my friends always
Yeah.
tease me and they're like, oh, that's the J. Like
That
that's
is
the
the J.
judging.
I was
Like
just gonna
you are
say,
making the call.
yeah,
Like,
no. So where you're trying to get out of your comfort zone a little more, I'm
hmm,
trying to work on my J-ness. Like I need to
yeah.
have structure, I need to have more follow through, but it's like against my better nature. I want to wake up with no plans and just go wherever the wind takes me.
Yeah.
I don't even prepare for these things, which I probably should. But I did do a little research on monogamy and what are we
Polyamory.
polyamory. So
Polyamory. Yeah.
polyamory, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited. But
Cool.
yeah. But I hear that by the way, you are such a good sport. You're so cool. Like I just posted it in the I think it was a thread where they divided us up by age, right?
Yeah.
So if you were between 20 and 30, introduce yourself here. And what are we in the
It's like 30s to 40 something. Like,
that was hard. That was like weird for me because I'm like,
yeah.
I could date an 18-year-old. Hello, Mrs. Robinson. No, no,
You
but
totally, I mean, why not? Like,
no. I cannot date an 18-year-old. But
you might not date them very long, but
that's
like,
right. Yeah. Yeah, somebody's got to give me my medicine when I get old. But I don't know. It was just kind of weird. I was like, I guess I guess I'm in this corner with you old farts now. So anyway,
oh,
I was glad to be in that thread because I met
yeah,
you and we got talking on
yeah,
a whole nother. You meet great people, cool people all the time. That's why you just got to go with the flow.
absolutely, yeah. And those are the type of things that I'm trying to be better at jumping on those opportunities. When you were like, "Hey, does anybody want to be on my YouTube show?" and or I forget exactly how you phrased it.
I don't know what this
And
is, so whatever.
I mean, it's awesome, but like,
Thank
so I was
you.
like, yeah.
Mm.
I was like, yeah, I'd never done anything like that. Let's try that, and
I love
I
people like that who are just want to grab life by the horns. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily used to be like that. It's taken some effort and healing and whatnot to get here, but I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, I'm
And
very grateful for it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm super happy that you're doing it. It's been fun so far,
So far, so good, right? But
right?
I
I know,
also
not
hear
too
that
shabby.
thanks. I hear you have a poem for me, which is
I
also another
do.
brave thing to do. Like I share cover poems all the time, but you're bringing a piece of yourself to us here.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's a privilege when somebody's able or willing to do that.
Well,
So
thanks.
what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do while you read is I'm gonna mute because I've got my dogs this week. Molly's
Okay.
laying by my feet, but they're being good right now. So and I don't want to
Aw.
interrupt you. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute and I'll let you take it away.
Okay. All right. So this is a poem that I wrote when I was 17, I believe. So, I was a military brat, so we moved around every 1 to 3 years of my life. So no stable home, none of that stuff. So I was perpetually the new guy in school, sort of the outsider, trying to find my way. So this is a poem that I wrote that got published in one of those like poetry contests. Hey, we'll put it in a book with like 8,000 other people. So not amazing, but still kind of cool. And so this is a poem that I wrote kind of about like being the new kid. So it's called A New Life, and it's by me, Ian. So here I sit all alone at lunch, wondering why. Why did I leave? Why am I here? I had so many friends just last year. Why do I sit alone and bored? Why? Why am I sitting here? Like a newborn first exposed to light, learning of the new world all around, testing, watching, listening, observing, studying the faces of the many. They, the many, all groups of friends. And here I sit. I was just like them, talking and laughing amongst my friends. But now I sit alone. That is the consequence of an adoption to Rome, a new period of isolation and coldness, a small display of boldness. Yes, then the friends are made. But until that time, here I am, me and the many others like me. I see them and they see me, sitting alone at lunch. So yeah, that
was
was
well
kind of
done. I really
thank
appreciate
you.
how you read that. Some people just blow through their poems, but you're a very good reader.
Thank you. I read, 3 books to my kids every night before bed, so I've
Oh,
gotten good at,
wow.
you
You're
know.
such a good dad. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah,
And
it's.
I also really enjoyed your poem too. I thought
Oh,
that was
thank you.
good. And
Thanks.
what an interesting experience that must have been. I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
when you were going through the different schools, you were moving all, it must have been, first of all, it's hard to do that once, but you
Hmm.
got a lot of practice. Personally, I found when I was going to school, I would meet children who did move around a lot, maybe because they were in the military, but I found them fascinating because they seemed so adaptive. They seemed to
Hmm.
become quick friends. They made friends very fast. They were very personable. Were you put in a different niche like every time you went to school? Because, I was a social butterfly, but then we had the preps and then the geeks
Hmm.
or whatever. What would you say your experience was like with that?
Um, it varied. It was different everywhere that we went. It was definitely hard. As a kid and like an introverted kid. I would say that, it would take me a good solid year just to kind of like observe the social structures and see who is friends with who and like what the different cliques were,
Hmm.
and just kind of get a sense for how things are so that I didn't like step on any social landmines or anything like that. So it would take me a good solid
Interesting.
year. And then, I would start making friends again and I would have them for like a year and then we would move, and I would have to
Yeah.
do the process over again. So like I would say, I had friends like half the time, but there was always a period at the beginning where it was super lonely, and like I have found that kids especially aren't so good at like welcoming other kids. Like every now and again
Really?
you'll find like sometimes you'll find like an awesome extroverted kid that's just like, hey, you're new, come here, check this out. Like you, yes,
I hopped
right?
on the fresh meat every chance I got. Everyone else bored me. I
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, you guys are old news." Like,
yeah. I love people like you. Absolutely.
thanks. Yeah. How
Yeah.
many
So
schools in total would you say you were
I
transferred
went to
through?
3 different high schools.
High schools.
So I want to say well, I'd have to look back, but I've moved, I think, 20 times or so since I was born,
20 times. Wow.
between then and now, so I'm 42. So it's been a while, but
Very transient. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
but
but gotta be
it,
quite an experience, I would
it
think.
is, and like you can, let me see if I can explain this properly. You know, it is what you make of it, right? So
Right.
like you can take it as like, I'm super mopey. I'm super depressed. Like I had to leave everything behind. This sucks. Like, oh,
Yeah,
everything here is
definitely.
awful. I want my old whatever. And there's always going to be some of that when you are forced to, make new pathways and learn new things and meet new people. But I tried my best to like always appreciate where I was,
Right.
and like
Yeah.
learn the new things and really kind of jump into the new area, because there's always like cool new restaurants to explore and awesome new parks, and new people to meet. Like if you look for it, there's always really cool things, in any place that you find yourself at.
You've
Um,
learned to grow where you're planted.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
like your very favorite place that you've ever been? If you could go back to, all right, hypothetical question. If you could go back to any of those places you've ever been and had to spend the rest of your life there,
hmm
what do you have the most fond memories for?
Um, I would say it's a toss-up between Alaska and Seattle.
You've been to Alaska?
Yeah, I lived in three different
Wow.
places in Alaska. So my dad was Coast Guard, so we were often on one coast or the other, always near water.
Oh,
Um,
gosh.
yeah. So I lived in Adak, which is like way, way, way out on the Aleutian chain, almost as far as Sarah Palin can see Russia and whatnot. But
Wild.
right. But
That's cool.
and I also lived in Kodiak, and both of those were when I was super young, so I don't really remember them. But Juneau is where we lived at two different tours. Once when I was like 4 years old, and then we moved back to Juneau for my senior year of high school.
Oh, you're seeing. Oh, that's a hard year to move
It was
during
it
your
was
senior
rough.
year. That's when
It
most
was
people get
rough.
their letters. They get respect from the school.
Yeah, it
God, and
was
then you have to
rough.
be,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that one was especially hard for me because, I was at in Virginia at T.C. Williams High School, which is Remember the Titans if you've ever seen that movie. But so anyway, I was at that school, and I was actually on the football team for a semester, and I did crew, and so I had a lot of teammates and a lot of people that I knew,
Right.
and so we moved to Alaska, and like they don't really have rowing in Alaska because it's fairly cold there.
Surprise,
Um,
surprise. Yeah.
right, and like moving your senior year is really tough because when you get to a school like senior year, like you're the kings of the school, you've been there forever, like, and
Right.
everyone knows everybody, and like the cliques are so established at that point.
Oh
There's
my
just like
goodness. Yeah.
no breaking in, So I think like I worked at a video store, and I think my friends were like the people that worked at the video store and like one other military brat in school, and like I didn't hardly know anyone else at the whole school,
Oh,
right? And
that's
so
brutal.
yeah, and I mean, it was a lot of like, kind of alone lunches, or like, I would go home for lunch sometimes, or, I
Oh
mean,
wow, you guys were allowed to go home for lunch? Holy cow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
And you came
it
back
was,
too.
I
That's
know, right?
good for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It was tough, but it was also really good, and I mean, Juneau's just, it's so beautiful, I mean, it's
Oh,
really,
I can't even imagine. And I want to go Seattle too. I have a question about
yeah,
Alaska real quick that I find this
yeah, of
so
course.
fascinating. And one of these days I really want to experience this. But were you in the area where it was what is it, the land of the midnight sun, where it was bright for 24 hours? Was that
That's much further up north, but you do get some of that, down south. So Juneau is kind of on the south sort of little part that hangs down next to Canada. But yeah, you
okay?
do definitely get some of that. And so, like in the summertime, like it would get, the sun would come up at like, I don't know, I'm probably remembering this wrong, but like 4 or 5 in the morning, and
Oh
like
wow.
it
Yeah.
would stay up until like 10 or 11 at night, or later, So like
It's kind of
it
wild. I
wouldn't,
couldn't imagine that.
yeah, I remember like as a kid being like, why do I have to go to bed? The sun's still out. And my parents would be
Yeah.
like, well, it's like 8 or 9 o'clock or whatever time it was, and they're like, you got to go to bed. And like that was really hard, but it's really fun as an adult, to experience that,
You are
and
so
there was,
lucky, gosh, to have
you should
been to
totally go,
Alaska.
Heather. You should check it out. It's,
Mm.
if you
All
ever get a
right.
chance, make it a
I would
priority.
love that. Yeah. As soon as
Yeah.
this COVID thing's over. I've got to get to Europe too. That's on the
hmm
bucket list. I gotta start getting inoculated as soon as I'm able to. And I gotta get that
Yeah.
passport. I've never had a passport, so I've only been to
Yeah.
Canada. Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna get the hell out of here.
Where have you been in Canada?
Niagara Falls.
Oh, awesome.
I hail from Binghamton, New York. That's where
Cool.
I call home. I didn't grow up there, but yeah, I lived there for a lot of my adult life. And it's funny, I became kind of the ambassador to Niagara Falls for all of my friends. I took a lot of people on their first time there, and it's kind of old hat now. Super
Yeah.
touristy. Have you been to Niagara Falls?
I haven't, but it's one of the
Really?
places I definitely want to check out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the tourist stuff is really cool. There's this awesome, gosh, there's this awesome haunted attraction. Was it the Nightmare Factory where they scare the
Okay.
hell out of you and then they take a picture of it? Great souvenir.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, I gotta tell you, there's nothing. The falls themselves are beautiful. It's
Hmm.
so the natural what you actually go for is beautiful. I took my
Yeah.
niece there. Oh man, many moons ago, and she was just so little, and so we had to do all the touristy things. But the very last day, I made her little legs walk all the right way down to the falls, and it was just one
Hmm.
of the most um, majestic, magical experiences because you feel so small. And how beautiful is it that you get to see wonders like this? It's really, really cool. And yes, one day I'm totally going to Alaska. It sounds like
Yeah.
fun.
It's amazing. And a little insider tip, if you ever get a chance, there is an amazing car ferry, and you don't have to ride on a car. You can just rent a stateroom, but it goes from Bellingham, Washington, which is where Western Washington University is, and it
Mhm.
goes all up through the Inside Passage through Victoria, BC, and it takes you to Juneau, and it continues on up to Skagway and some other places. But it takes about 2.5 days, if I recall correctly. And like I've
Wow.
done that a few times, and it is a ferry, but it's a really big one, So it's sort of like a mini cruise ship. They have like a cafeteria on board and like a little arcade room, and like a small little movie theater and stuff. But like it is such a
Interesting.
beautiful journey the whole time. And like if you ever just want to take 2.5 days to just relax and like
Yes, I
read
could do
books or
that.
write or whatever you want to do just to recenter yourself, like it is such a beautiful trip. And it's kind of fun too because a lot of college students, there's a huge like back deck that's just open, and college students like pop up tents back there, because they can't really afford to pay for the rooms on board the ship. And so there's
Sounds
like 50
awesome.
tents just pitched on the back deck, right? And
I
it's
would
just like
do
this
that.
fun party. Absolutely, right? I mean, it seems super fun.
That sounds like
And
Woodstock on the ferry. That sounds great.
right, yeah,
Oh my goodness.
absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, so life goals for you, Heather. You should totally do it.
there are so many things in this beautiful, beautiful world that I have left to experience. And God, I'm just hoping I get to one day. As soon as this COVID thing is over, what's the next thing on your bucket list? What do you want? What is it that you've not seen before that you are longing to?
Well, there's so many answers to that question.
I mean, that's
In
a
terms of
fair,
like
fair.
places I would like to travel to, I really want to go to Iceland. Um,
Oh, God, yeah, Iceland.
like I
It's
want
supposed
to
to be
do the
very
hot
green
spring
there.
baths. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
interesting.
like these natural hot spring, they're like baths or whatever, and I just want to be out there in the snow in this like hot spring bath, just like chilling and relaxing and just like enjoying nature, and
I would
it just
love
sounds
that.
so awesome. And
There's so many ponies I hear, like
are
Icelandic
there?
ponies. I don't know. And Bjork is from there. And
Yeah,
right, isn't she from Iceland, Bjork?
I think she might be. Yeah.
And another thing I've heard about Iceland that I don't know is true, but there are only a certain amount of names you can give your children, I want to
Oh,
say.
really?
I'm gonna have to fact check that, and if I'm lying, I'll just put it in the show notes. But I just find these things so fascinating. All right, it sounded like you had quite a few things you wanted to cross off the bucket list. So, was there something aside from traveling you're looking forward to doing when COVID ends?
Yeah. Well, so there's two things that I really want to do. So one is my parents still live in Seattle, and so we usually go visit them like once or twice a year, almost always for Christmas, and in the summertime, at least one of the two of those. And so obviously with COVID, we haven't really been able to do that, and
Right, right.
like to me, family is like so important. And
Ah,
part of that was because we moved around so much. It was like my brother and I and my two parents, so like that was our core family unit, and like anywhere that we moved, no matter what was happening, we always had each other. So like, we're a really tight knit family, and still, even though we're thousands of miles apart, we're like that. And so it was really hard this year not being able to go home,
I
and
couldn't
see them.
imagine. Yeah. Especially
Yeah,
that's where the heart is. So it's hard
yeah.
for you.
Right, and my kids just adore them, of course. And my dad builds like N scale trains. I don't know if you know much about model trains, but they're like one of the smallest scale. So like a train car is about this big,
Oh,
and like
interesting.
and he runs them around on tracks. There's like electric fed tracks, so you can actually drive them around. And he built this like huge train layout with like mountains and rivers and steel mills and all this other stuff in his house. And
Wow.
my
Oh my
kids,
goodness. This is interesting.
yeah, my kids love trains, and my dad, he's always loved trains, and I like them too, but
Yeah.
like they're gaga over the trains. And so that's like their favorite thing to do is go there. And that was something that like his whole life he always collected trains, and at one point when I think I was like in 7th grade, he built like a smaller train layout. And because of the house that we moved to, we had to put it in storage. We didn't have room for it. And some squirrels apparently got into it and like, burrowed into like the styrofoam that you use to make the mountains and all the other stuff. And it was just totally trashed.
Oh
And so for
no.
like the next, 10 to 15 years, he just never had a train layout, but he always had like hundreds of these train cars. And his
Mm.
goal was like, at some point, I'm going to buy a house. We're not going to move and I'll be able to build a train layout. So anyway, long story short, he finally built this train layout.
Oh
It's
wow.
huge. It like takes up the whole wall of this room and the
Really?
kids love it. It is so awesome.
Does it have the little fake smoke that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Some
that's
of the
my
engines have the
favorite.
smoke. Yeah.
Yeah,
And like the
yeah.
controllers, they have little buttons. You can like turn the lights off and have the trains go like woo woo, and just all this stuff, right?
How,
Like
how did they go?
they go woo woo, right? Yeah, you got
Love
it.
it. I do that a lot too. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Well, I brought a poem,
Yeah, I'd love to
and
hear it.
oh man, I love your enthusiasm. You gotta come back. This is fun.
Yeah, I'd love to. Totally.
This is so
All right.
neat.
So
Uh,
so I will mute my mic too, so
okay,
that you can have the full.
you're so
All right.
courteous. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm
All
the
right.
best guest. Okay, cool. So this poem is by Kilcher, and it's from her book A Night Without Armor. And I picked this poem specifically because we were going. First of all, we met on a dating Facebook group, but also because we're talking about don't tell me polyamory, and also because I've just kind of been in this place where I don't want to date. Like it's been really kind of liberating because I've been working on my art. I have a lot of projects in the work. But then again, here I am, 30. I'll be 37 next month. Just kind of, childless and thinking, well, I hope I don't die alone. But I really also like being alone. So anyway, with that said, this is Second Thoughts in Columbus, Ohio. I find it strange that we search our whole lives for love, as though it were the final treasure, the solemn purpose of people and movies and magazines. Yet, when it comes to your door one morning with calm eyes to deliver itself, you realize it alone is not enough. You are before me, sweet man, and I am thinking, aren't we supposed to give up everything? Aren't I supposed to be brave and abandon each dream and aspiration and yield utterly to this elusive beast love, to your soft belly and companionship? Aren't we supposed to have a piece of land and children that look like you and cook soup and bread and sing each other songs before sleep and absent-mindedly count the stars from our front porch as we pray for each other's keep? And pretend forever is a word known not only by the heart. Thank you. So yeah, I was thinking about social conventions, I guess.
Yeah.
Social norms in society. When I was growing up, I would meet people like me, childless adults, and
Hmm.
thinking, man, those people are weird. I thought you were supposed to grow up and get married and have kids. And now I'm one of those weird adults. And I was thinking about social conventions and, how it can make some of us feel very alienated if that's not the path that has unfolded for us. And
Hmm.
I've come into this place where it's not the conventional path, but I'm so in love with my life and where things are. But
That's
anyway,
awesome. You should
yeah,
always love where you're at. Like,
I didn't always. Sometimes, the pity kind of gets you. Like this morning, my arthritis flared up.
Oh no.
I
Oh.
sound so old. Yeah, yeah. I get this arthritis issue in the small of my back, and I feel in my hips and everything.
Hmm.
Usually, always in January. I think it's because I drink wine with sulfates in it. I don't know. But I find it so hard to get out of bed, and I have to take care of my dogs. And I was kind of feeling sorry for myself. I was thinking, you know what, Heather? You better like get your shit together because you don't want to you're going to be decrepit one day. And like I said earlier, somebody's got to give me my medicine. So I don't know. Maybe the next guy I date, I'll escort him off the graduation stage. I'm just kidding. I don't know. But anyway, it just sent me down a rabbit hole. So
Hmm.
thinking about, but let's have this conversation. I'm
Sure.
really very curious. What is polyamory?
So polyamory, I think it's a fairly new term, but it basically means multiple loves, right? And there aren't any like hard and fast rules, but it is a form of ethical non-monogamy. And it kind of, so there's a phrase called the relationship escalator. I'm not sure if you've heard
I
that
don't know
before.
anything about that. I'm eager. That sounds exciting. I like escalators. Go
Yeah.
on.
It's a good and a bad thing, right? So the relationship escalator is basically, it's what society tells us we need to do in every relationship we ever get into, right? It's
Right.
you go on some dates, you fall in love, at some point one of you moves in with the other one. Maybe you have kids, maybe you get animals, maybe you buy a house, you grow old together and you die, right? And like that is the relationship
Boom,
escalator.
done.
It's like you're on this thing and like there isn't really any getting off it. It's just like, you date somebody and you get to a certain point on the escalator where you're like, okay, do I want to move in with this person?
Yeah.
Maybe not so much. And if you don't, then it's like, okay, time to jump onto a new escalator, and
That's
oftentimes that's
interesting. Yeah.
when you might break up, or do I want to marry this person? Maybe I do, or yes, I totally do, or not, but so that's the
Oh,
escalator is it's kind of a one-way trip and it's the same thing over and over. And it just kind of, like an escalator, it just like cycles, it gets to the end, goes back to the beginning, and it just keeps going. You're walking on the same steps every time, and
ooh,
so
okay.
that is something that I don't necessarily believe in anymore, and I mean that is also something that the poem that you read, I feel like was kind of hinting at, like you fall in love and these are the things that you're expected to do, and some
Right.
of the more poignant things that in that poem was, like I'm supposed to get rid of my dreams and I'm supposed to like be happy with like making the soup or the good night, I forget the other specifics, but like
Yeah.
those are the things you have to give up part of yourself in order to ride this ride, right?
Ah, that's really, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and like I don't really believe that anymore, like, and so I think that like you can, so polyamory, like you can love multiple people. Like I don't see any problem with that. And
All right, now, okay, I'll just stop you there because I have a
sure.
question, and I'm sure other people will.
Yeah.
Polyamory, does that mean you are loving more than one person at the same time or just throughout your life? Because I'm confused because I know there's polygamy that I've been
Hmm.
confusing it with. So I had this
Right.
preconceived notion. Tell me, or is it like, what's
Yeah,
it
so
look like?
I
How
don't
can
know a
I
whole
join
lot of.
this cult? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's not a cult. Don't tell people that. Jeez.
I
I
know,
have a
I
hard
know.
enough time as it is. Don't.
Yeah, be
um,
be responsible, Heather. No,
right.
just kidding.
No, I do want to, anybody that's watching this, I do want to just make sure that like, polygamy is different than polyamory, and like polygamy is like the sister love thing and it's like the super religious
Oh,
thing where it's like, hey, and often it's a religious thing where it's like some man gets to marry 20 women and they're all sister
yeah.
wives and like, isn't that a hoot for him, and
Gosh, lucky
like that's
guy.
different. That is not at all what polyamory is. So like traditionally polygamy is very much kind of man centric, right? Like he has
Uh-huh.
all the power and like yes, the women can choose to marry him or not, but it's often like, multiple women and one dude, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But so polyamory, it's not exactly the opposite, but I feel like it's very different and that it's much more equality based and women tend to have a lot more power in polyamory. I
Okay,
know,
I'm
right?
listening. Well, tell me more about
Right?
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, by its definition, polyamory is like multiple loves. That's what it means. You can love multiple people. So if you've ever watched like a romantic movie, or take Love Actually, right? I don't know if you're familiar
I
with that
have
one, but
seen
like,
that. I didn't finish it because I only do horror and true crime and
fair enough.
thrillers. But okay, yeah, love movies. Blah. All right. Anyway, dude,
Heather, come on,
is
you're
it, I
killing me right
know
now.
that's so girly. No, but isn't that regarded kind of as a Christmas movie too?
It
Love
sort of is,
Actually.
but
Oh,
it's
okay.
really about like multiple love threads. Anyway, that's beside
This
the
is
point. But
interesting. Yeah.
this is true of a lot of romantic movies, and often the drama of the movie is that there is a person and they're in love with two other people and they have to choose. And this is
I
over
have
and
been in that
over.
situation. You know what
Yes.
I thought? Oh my God, how great if these two people got along super well. Yeah. And then I
Welcome
wouldn't
to
have to choose.
polyamory. Yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay, I'm down.
take every, right? I mean, take every movie you've ever watched where you've been like, "Oh, she loves him and she loves him too." And she
Mhm.
has to break up with one of them and break their heart. That
Yeah.
sucks. And like all the polyamory people watching this are like, "Why don't you just pick them both and love them both? Like, why do you have to pick?"
No, no,
And
no.
like
And
and
that's a
that's the
really
whole
good
point.
point. Yeah. But then again, but what about jealousy? And what about having to
Hmm.
so there's this notion that we have that it's it's possible to own another person. Like
Yeah.
this is my human being. And like I kind of understand that too. I think like one man for me is good enough because like one is enough trouble already. I don't know if I could juggle two.
I mean,
Maybe
don't
I
knock until
can.
you
I've
tried
never.
it.
Yeah. Hey, don't knock until you try it. But I think the idea is appealing. I do want to say this though, real quick.
Hmm. Yeah.
What I have before I kind of quit dating altogether, I have been running into a lot of guys. It seems like you go in cycles, right? It seems like I meet a lot of people who are like this, and then when I try again, I meet a lot of people who are like this. And a lot of the guys that I've been seeing or speaking to lately, they have this notion of their emperor penguin. Like they want to mate for life. They have this idea that there's this one person for them, and that's it. And I kind of think that's sad, and I think we feel sad for each other because I've
Hmm.
had so many loves throughout my life, and they're all equally important to me. Although I've loved them all in different ways. And hell, I'm young. I'm having a lot more loves in my life, so we'll see. But there is quite that divide. But going back to loving more than one person at the same time,
Hmm.
how do you deal with that? Um, I guess it could bring out some insecurities in somebody you didn't think you had, didn't know you had.
Yeah. So that's absolutely true. But I feel like jealousy is something you will definitely run into, but that's something you run into in monogamy as well. I mean,
Interesting.
jealousy is just an emotion, right? And like all the other emotions, like it eventually passes, and you can learn how to deal with that in healthy ways, or you can let it really dominate everything, and I've had friends that were in relationships, monogamous, and they were like, anytime I so much as like look in the direction of another woman, like my
Mm.
girlfriend gets super pissed, and it can happen both ways. It's not just a female
Right,
thing,
right. That's a good
you
example,
know,
though. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
and like oftentimes they feel trapped, right? Because they can't look. So their natural inclination is like, I appreciate beautiful things. I want to look at a beautiful woman. Like, who
Right.
wouldn't want to look at a beautiful sunset or see a cute puppy or whatever random thing it is? Like, even women, you're just drawn to other attractive women. Like, like we're drawn to what we're drawn to, and that's natural, and like feeling like somebody else is making us feel guilty for being who we are and liking what we like is not a good feeling, and you can kind of feel trapped,
Mm.
and that's where I feel like a lot of jealousy, it's not like the issue. I'm not an expert, but I feel like the issue is often self-confidence and reassurance. And so like
Interesting.
I
Okay.
have a girlfriend, we've been together for, over 2 years, and it's fantastic, right? And she's very much like, if you go out on a date with somebody else, like I want to hear all about it. And she's like, and do what you feel is right for you, but she's like, I might need some reassurance when you get back, so like when I get back from my date, like I would call her and like let her know like how it went, if there were any sparks, if it fell flat, whatever it may be. And she communicates to me and lets me know like I just need reassurance, like so I can tell her like, yes, I went on this date, maybe she was amazing, maybe we have really great chemistry, you know but like I'm still madly in love with you. Like me liking apples doesn't mean that I like oranges any less, like,
That's interesting.
like
You kind of
eh,
highlight the gamut of, how much we could truly feel for one person. And also, I think that's a pretty good distinction you made, um, in the way of, yes, I can love multiple people, but each love seems different, right?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like
It's
no two
unique.
people are going to be the same, and like there's kind of the adage of like one person should be able to meet all of your needs. That's a very
Right.
monogamous way of looking at things. It's the I'm going to get my life mate, right? And like
Interesting.
I thought I had that, in my marriage, and I was
Well,
very
how long were you
careful.
married?
We were together 14 years.
A
We
long
were
time.
married. We were married a little under 9 years, but so
Wow.
it took a while before we actually got married because I wanted to be absolutely sure. Like most of my family,
That's the J
they
in you.
yeah, it probably is, but
Yeah, I would.
like
If
most of
somebody
my
needs a green card, you just call me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
I've seen the movie. I know.
I've got a
Um,
dress. Let's go. All right.
yeah, but like for me, marriage was very much like I'm going to do it once, and like so I want to make absolutely sure that this is a person I want to spend the rest of my life with.
Oh
And
yeah,
like I think,
absolutely.
and that's what society tells us. And I mean, there's something beautiful in that. Like I'm not saying monogamy is bad because monogamy is wonderful. In many ways, like all the different styles, as long as you're doing
Yes.
them in healthy ways, can be beautiful. And like so I found this person and I spent 14 years with her, and I thought that this was going to be the rest of my life, and I was really happy. Up until when it ended. You
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
and it was a bit of a shock, because I wasn't necessarily expecting that result.
You
But
were blindsided, maybe?
yes, well, sort of. I mean,
Always
I don't
sort
know.
of. Always sort of, because you kind of, I feel like you always feel it kind of bubbling, but then when it actually happens, you're like, I didn't think
Yeah,
that this was going to end. I knew we were going to have some hard times, but yeah.
yeah. I'm just like I would happily tell you the whole story, but I'm not so sure
Yeah, we're
if
going to
my
cut
ex
that
would
off
want me
here.
to, like tell the whole story publicly online. So
I'm just so
anyway,
easy to talk
my
to. I almost tricked you into it. No
I
kidding.
know, right, Heather? Geez, we can talk offline sometime if you want the full
Silly
story,
Ian.
but
No, no, I'm
yeah.
kidding. Yeah.
But so I think my point was that like you find this person and you think that's going to be your forever person, right?
Right.
And like suddenly this was not my forever person. I realized, and I'm like, oh, that's now what do I do? I'm 40 something, and like I have to start from square one again. Like crap,
Right.
I'm competing with 20 and 30-year-olds. Like, I've got dad
That's an
bod and
interesting
kids,
thought.
and like,
Hmm.
like it's a tough spot to be in,
Did you
but
say a dad bod and kids?
dad bod and kids, yep. Dad bod full effect right here.
Dad bod and HD. No, I think we all kind of bring our own baggage. Like, no,
Hmm.
I totally understand. I'm not that kids and a dad bod is baggage, but we all bring something that we're like, well, this is gonna present a challenge for me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but so something I realized is that like a lot of people when they get into this situation, they're like, I'm never getting married again. Marriage is stupid.
I
Like
kind
I
of feel
did that.
that
I got
way.
burned,
Yeah.
to marriage, but like I'm still a hopeless romantic, like I still want to get remarried at some point, and like I don't feel like I have to, because
Right.
like I've already done the goals that society has set for me. I've been
Mm.
married, I've had kids, I've got the house, like I've got
You've
the
been on
car.
that
Well, I had
escalator.
the car, but yeah, I've
Yeah.
been on the escalator, right? I've hit all the achievements I'm supposed to hit, so now that's
You
kind of
got all the
freeing.
Boy Scout badges
I
of
do, yeah,
life.
right. They're all on, yeah.
Nice.
But now I can kind of live life the way I want to live it. Like I don't have to just do what society tells me I can do. It's kind of freeing in a way,
Yeah.
and so one of the
When you
ways that
make
I'm doing
that
that
choice for
is,
yourself, it's freeing, right? Because I feel
yeah,
like
absolutely.
unless we come up with a code for life that we are
Hmm.
going to live for ourselves, there is that feeling of disappointment when we don't hit those achievements that
Yeah.
are set forth for
And
us.
yeah, and like I have a couple of friends who've never been married, other single parents, and you know, some part of them is like, well, I may never get married, and there's a part of them that really still desperately wants to get married. Like
Yeah.
they feel like they need to get that achievement, or they need like somebody to love them enough to want to do that. And like
And I get it. I
I
think it's a very beautiful notion. I love
it
I love the idea of monogamy, but
hmm
I and not to cut you off, but this is
no,
part
yeah.
of the research I did before you came on. I was thinking about monogamy, and as much as I love the idea, and it's kind of coveted, right? Um, oh, I missed some phone calls. I wasn't going to open this, but I bookmarked the all of my research I did. Hold on just
Cool.
a second. Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
got
putting that energy into it.
thanks. Yeah, this happened like 5 minutes ago. Okay. No, it was let's see here. Oh, I accidentally started looking something else up and lost it as an ENFP with ADHD would do. How funny. Anyway, it was by shoot. Anyway, it was a list of animals, right? It was a list of 10 animals that are actually monogamous.
hmm
And let's see here, beavers are
Yeah.
monogamous. I'm sure you've done research on this too.
Bald eagles.
Is it? Oh, bald eagles are not monogamous. How
They
interesting
are
is that?
they are monogamous.
Bald eagles are monogamous?
Yeah, they are. Are you saying you looked up creatures that were non-monogamous or that were
No,
monogamous?
monogamous. No, you're right. Actually, I think I just misspoke. I found the article. Okay,
Cool.
listen. Yeah, gibbons, which is a certain
Okay.
monkey, right? And this worm that I can't pronounce. It's a schistosomia. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to try. All right.
We'll run
It's
with
a
that. Yeah.
it's a parasite that lives
Okay.
that can penetrate our epidermis. Wolves, and I'm gonna get back to
hmm
wolves in a second, but yeah, we've got beavers and shingback skinks, which is a type of reptile, and they can live in bliss for over 20 years. And barn owls, which I find
mm
fascinating, and then they've got bald eagles on here, and French angelfish,
Oh,
who
wow.
do everything together. They go hunting, they hang out in reefs and defend their territory. So they're super clingy with each other, and
hmm
octopods, and of course, swans, which are so beautiful and we
hmm
so romantic because they make that little heart with their necks. But I
Yeah.
was reading over this article and this kind of broke my heart and made me almost want to be a wolf. It's usually, by the way, this is by Mental Floss, and I'll put that in the show notes for people to read. I mean, I don't know what research they've done, but I really liked this specifically about the wolves. It's usually till death do us part for wolves. In the wild, they start breeding by the age of 2. Mated pairs build their wolf packs by having new litters every year. Most wolves experience reproductive census either. Well, basically, that word means that they can procreate until they die.
hmm
And so when you see a lone wolf, have some sympathy. He's single and looking for love, mourning his dead partner, or in extreme cases, nursing a breakup with a pack. And that kind of breaks my heart because it reminded me that we are communal beings. And I have a renewed appreciation for the wolf. So anyway,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, but that whole notion doesn't really take away from polyamory so much, I guess. It's
Yeah.
kind of the opposite. I don't know.
hmm Yeah. I mean, the monogamy thing, it's sort of going back to something you said earlier about like ownership um, as
Right.
well. You know, there is a sense of ownership in monogamy, and there are some anthropologists, I think that's the right word, people that study cultures and stuff, that
Oh, yeah.
um, that theorized that monogamy wasn't even a thing in humans until we started owning property, and then it became a thing.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
and the reason it's there is so that like who your offspring are, and you can give your land to those people and or to your kids, and it
Oh,
stays in the
wow.
family. And so before that point, they theorized that we were all hunter gatherers, so like we lived as a tribe. People would just, like have sex with anybody they wanted to or anybody that was willing. And like all the kids were like everybody's kids, and
Oh, wow.
there's actually a couple of tribes, I forget where they are in the world, that are still currently around, and they are non-monogamous by culture, and like like I said, they can have sex with anybody, and they believe that children are actually created, and this might get a little graphic, so
Oh, no, no,
apologize
no.
in advance,
Please.
but like
You've seen my other
so
shows. You're fine. All right.
so they believe, if I remember this right, that the children that grows inside of a woman is basically made up of everybody that the woman has sex with that leaves their, seed inside of the woman
Mitochondria is
adds to
discovered
that
in women.
person.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, but
Well,
so
that
like
is quite
everyone that
interesting.
has sex with this woman leaves part of themselves, and over time, all of that stuff turns into a kid. So when that kid is born, that kid is literally of the tribe. Like there is no notion of like who's the father. Like it's anyone that's ever had sex with the mom, and so like it is the tribe's child,
Well,
which
and
I.
also, it seems graphic to us because, here we are not in a tribe, we're in a first world country. But I
Mhm.
also think the notion of considering a child as belonging to everyone, they say it takes a village to raise a child too. And I find that notion kind of beautiful, how
It
fortunate
is
for the child to have such a big family.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, we can get into a
interesting.
whole different discussion on,
Oh,
how we're getting
you
isolated
are a
and all that, but
smart cookie. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I hear about stuff, but
I
but
kind of want to
so
ask you
going,
to go on.
yeah,
I'm just kind of curious. You say that there's a chance that you could get married again, like you're
mhm,
open to it.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would like to, like I feel like I love that display, that outward display of love and that public display. And like I don't feel like I need that with a partner.
Right.
Like I don't need that achievement, but like it's really nice. It's a beautiful gesture, and the romantic in me loves that, and really
Yeah.
loves that
Yeah.
expression. And like I want that again, Like I don't feel like I have to, but I do want it. It hasn't, it hasn't scarred me or anything like that. My, separation and impending divorce.
Right.
Um, but
But
yeah,
so can I
so
ask when you
yeah.
think when you decide to get married, will you still have your girlfriend, or do you think like you would probably enter into a marriage and maybe still see other people? That's probably getting too personal. I am
No, it's
so
fine.
interested in people. I just
Yeah,
gotta know what's happening
absolutely.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So remember that question because I would love to answer that in a second.
Okay. I'm excited.
Yeah,
This
I
is a
just
great talk. Gosh.
yeah, no, it's super fun, and I mean, please interject if you have thoughts or opinions on any of this stuff because I don't want to just be the guy talking the whole time. Like that's not,
I
I'm
find
a
it
big fan of
fascinating.
equality and equal energy and whatnot. So
Thank you.
um,
God, you seem so well put together. Like you seem like you got it. Any man who can, gosh, you've obviously done a lot of self-reflection. First of all, you're an INFJ, and so that's one of my favorite personality types anyway. But you seem to be, I don't know, self-evolving. Like you've already considered like the jealousy that goes into polyamory and you
yeah,
know
thanks.
secure, like being secure in yourself and everything. You reflect
Yeah,
deeply, I can tell. I just get that
yeah,
from you. Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, I hope I like to think so, but it took me a while to get here, and a lot of healing and some
It's a
therapy and stuff.
journey.
But
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely it is. But I like who I am. I feel confident in what I have to offer and all that stuff. So
That's sexy in itself. We should all like who we are. It's a
right,
very
yeah,
attractive quality. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Thanks. Um, so yeah, going back to monogamy and the sense of ownership, right?
Mhm.
So there is a sense that you mentioned it earlier, like this is my person, or like I'm yours, or you're mine, and like I think that's really romantic, but also it's kind of like the ball and chain thing, and it's like you are mine, therefore you can't ever kiss anyone else, flirt with anyone else, do any of this other stuff. And there's a sense of ownership in that, right? And like
Right.
it's no longer I am giving myself to you and we're coming together like this. It's more I now own you and I'm taking you with me, right? And vice
Right.
versa, but like the
But also
I
with
feel like
monogamy, you kind of want somebody, you don't ever want to do that thing where I'm taking you're mine now. You want that person to feel that maybe I don't want anyone else but you. I think that's maybe it's a romantic notion, but is it realistic?
I don't feel like it's realistic personally. Like I
Yeah,
don't think any one person can ever meet all of your needs. Like I just don't. And
I agree. Yeah.
like you can find somebody. I equate it to like buying a house, right? So like if you've ever purchased a house or even just looking for apartments or whatever it may be, like it's a big investment, right? So you don't want to enter into it lightly. And like when you're looking for a house, you're looking for it has to have 3 bedrooms. It needs to have a garage. It's you have a list of things that it has to have,
Right.
and then you have a list of things that you want to have, right? Ideally,
Right.
but anybody that's ever house hunted can probably tell you that it's super rare to meet or to go find a house that has everything that you need or everything that you want. It's
Right.
like they might have 8 out of your 10, things that you have to have, but invariably, like, it's perfect, but it's 25 minutes away from everything I want to be. Or
Right.
like it's, like there's always going to be something that's not quite right. And at some point you have to make the decision, like, am I going to, do this thing or not? Am I going to buy it? Does it meet enough of these qualifications?
And
Right.
it's a
And I
big
feel like that's
commitment. Houses are big commitments.
absolutely,
Relationships are big. God, relationships are huge investments because you don't get your time back. A house you can resell.
absolutely,
I don't
and like,
know.
and it's a lot of pressure to put on the other person too. Like that person has to be your everything, and like if you have different sex drives, or like maybe one of you likes like concerts and the other one doesn't, or you like traveling and the other one's a homebody, like
Right.
you can have so many things that are perfect together, but there are going to be areas that you're just not on the same wavelength, and like you either have to give up or sacrifice, like we were talking about earlier, sacrifice your dreams of ever going to a live concert again, or sacrifice your dream of ever going to Australia because, your new spouse doesn't like traveling, you know,
That would
or
never happen to me. Yeah.
I've met a few people that don't like traveling,
I say
but
hit the road, Jack. We're
yeah,
going we're
agree.
going to the outback. Ooh,
Yeah,
I just wrote a
right,
poem. Oh, there we go.
right.
No,
I feel
but
like you need
I
to
think that
stand up.
that's
You
why
need to.
community is so important. What was that?
I was gonna make a terrible joke. Go ahead. I
I
was
like
gonna say you
terrible
have to be
jokes.
standing on your head when you say that because it's a down under joke. But anyway,
Okay. I think
sorry.
I
I'm a
I think
dad.
I
I
kind of
have
got the
awful,
punchline
awful dad
already.
jokes. Yeah.
I don't care. I love it. Uh, See, you are so lucky. You know what? Dad bod, kids, whatever. If you bring the dad jokes, how can somebody not eat that up? I
I mean, that's
love
what I'm
that.
saying. But
You've got it all going on, brother. But yeah, I love it.
tell your friends. No,
Yeah,
no,
tell your friends. Well, okay, so here's some. I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole. I was gonna make a point. I forget what I was gonna say. Oh, that's why community is so important. Like I've started
absolutely.
meetup groups because yeah, the guy I was married to, man, he was so happy just coming home, cooking venison that he killed and sitting his ass in front of the television all night. And that's fine. That was his life and that's what he loved to do. But I've
Hmm.
got this lust for life. Like any trip we've ever planned, well, no, any trip we've ever taken, I planned, any fun thing, any memory we made outside the house is because of me. Um, it wasn't like a super fulfilling marriage, but anyway, I digress. You do need your community, right? You need your
Yeah.
girlfriends. You can't lose your identity when you get married. You
Hmm.
need the
Yeah.
people around you to be whole.
Yeah.
Or you
Well,
should be whole, but
so that kind of brings me to one of the things that I feel is a strength of polyamory, and it's the notion of I'm choosing to be with you. Like I'm not with you
uh
because I have to be, or because we're in a relationship and she's my girlfriend, so therefore she has to go out with me. Like every time I am with somebody, it's because I want to be with them. Like because it's kind of
exactly.
like imagine like a bird cage, right? And the cage door is open, right? And like that bird is sitting right on the precipice of that cage. And
Mm.
like that bird can fly away at any point they want to, right? They're totally free to. And they can go experience whatever wonders they find out in the world, right?
That they
But they know
choose
where their
not
home is,
to.
you know?
Oh,
And so they're
that's
going to
really
come back,
sweet.
right? Or think of it as a dog crate or whatever, I don't know, you come back to your cave, however it is. Like that's how I feel like relationships should be, like for me, home is the person I'm in love with,
I
and like,
agree. Actually, I'm sorry, I get really excited. I'm gonna forget my point, but I really love that you said that. I officiate weddings and I absolutely
cool.
love it. Yeah. But I do want to say that the idea of getting married again, the idea of getting married the first time was no different, but I feel like it's almost a death. Like it's the end of something. And I know that sounds really pessimistic, but I do like the idea of being with somebody who could leave anytime, but you know that they're there because they want to. I officiated a wedding over the summer. A friend of mine, who, oh, I love him so much. But unfortunately, he fell in love with my roommate. And, but if I can change things, Chris, I'm going to stare into the camera. Christopher Bovenzi, you're mine, right? Whatever.
Chris, become Polly.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. No, he's like
You
he's
you
like a
can
brother.
have them both.
I know. Oh my God, my ex roommate would kill me. No, he is such a good husband to my ex roommate Frankie, who's like a brother to me. They are such a loving couple. But anyway, he had a really good idea when it came to marriages, that perhaps it should be a license that you renew every so many years to say, you know what, I do want to keep being married to this person.
Hmm.
That's an interesting idea. I mean, of course, kind of a pain in the neck when it comes to paperwork, because as is
Yeah.
any kind of insurance that you keep up with or whatever, but that's your marriage. So
Well, I'm
to say 15 years down the road or 20 years, like, you know what, I could leave. Our marriage is up. Our marriage license expired, but I still want to be with you. That's romantic.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will about the Vikings, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that that's how the Vikings did it. Like
Really?
they
Oh,
got married, and at some point they would like, come to their like contract renewal, and they'd be like, "Do we still want to be married? Yes or no?" And if they did, they would. And if they didn't, they were like, "Okay, thanks, it was awesome," and they could go marry whoever they wanted to. And honestly, I feel like
that's
that would be good
interesting.
for so many marriages,
It
because
really would. Well, but
like
then you
think
still
about
have like the leaning in spouse who that might blindside, but
it's
and yeah,
possible.
that's always hard. But having been the leaning in spouse who went through that, there is growth in it. And
Yeah.
if you're watching and you're a leaning in spouse that who finds yourself all of a sudden not married anymore, it does get easier. And I actually feel that the most beautiful things you find sometimes are on detours. You expect your life to be one
Yes.
way and it takes another route. And I've got to tell you, I was engaged once and that broke up, and I was married and now that's over. And I've got to say, with each um, catastrophic end to an important relationship in my life, so much growth was had, and I kind of want to thank each of those experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always really hard when life forces you to change.
Oh,
Like, and I mean, I learned that moving around, but like you always end up in a better place.
mm.
And maybe it's not better, I don't know, but as long as you appreciate it and you make the most of it, like I honestly can't think of, there's maybe one or two things in my life that I would change if I could. But like for the most part, like I'm happy with all the places I've been, and there've been a lot of hurt and a lot of, things that were really difficult, but like I'm happy with where I am. I
I
love my
have
kids. I love my family. Like,
you're very, very fortunate. And I just want to speak to that point real quick is I had this really crazy dream when I was separating from my ex-husband. It's kind of a long one. I was just looking at the time because you've been so sweet to come on here and I want to be respectful of your time. I don't want to
I have
go
nowhere to go, but
because
so
we're both in COVID. Okay, let me tell you
yeah,
this
you have me as long
this
as you want me. Put it that way. But
see that, ladies? Back off. No kidding. All right. When it comes to change, let me tell you about this dream I had at the end of my marriage. And first of all, we were living in this single family home, and the home next to us became available, and we were looking to buy, and we loved the neighborhood. So I told him, like, hey, let's go over and talk to him. Yada, yada. We bought the house. We're waiting to move in. So we have two houses next to each other, right? And so we had like what, four bathrooms and six rooms between us. And we could occupy them both. And our marriage ended. And so I he offered to drag a blow up mattress into the other house and stay there until I found a place. And I could have slept on the couch, but I really didn't want to be in the same under the same roof as him. So what I did was earlier that spring we bought a tent with the hope that when the weather got nicer, we would spend every weekend camping and making these beautiful memories. Well, that never happened because we bought a house and all of a sudden responsibilities took over. Well, I took that tent and I pitched it in our backyard. And that's kind of where I stayed until I had to move out. And I loved every minute of it. It felt almost like Occupy Wall Street, but this was
yeah,
Occupy Amber Lane. And I felt like, I was married for all this time and I did nothing but try to make him happy and live in this norm that felt very unnatural to me. And for the first time, here I was doing exactly whatever the hell I wanted. I didn't care if the neighbors looked at me funny. I was loving it. So I
yeah.
call this period of my life the time in the tent. And
Okay.
I had this one dream. I was meditating a lot back then. And because my life was falling apart and I needed to just clear my mind, I had this dream that I was working in a big box store. I don't know if it was Sam's Club or Walmart, but it was something like that because we were all wearing these vests. And I'm standing at the front of the store, and there's a lady, there's a receptionist, she's at the desk. It's a dream, right? So it's gonna not make any sense. All of a sudden, in comes this man, and he's spitting mad, like he's super angry. And he asks us, where the manager is, and before we can answer, he's already made a beeline to the manager's office. And all of a sudden, in a dream, the way you do, you just know that there's going to be trouble. Like I was filled with dread all of a sudden. And I just knew all of a sudden that he had a gun and that he was going to shoot the place up and we were in danger. So
Hmm.
I said to the lady at the desk, I said, call 911. And everything about this lady was very round, right? She was a round lady. She had jowls. She had a bowl cut. Her glasses were round. This dream was so vivid that I remember it to this day. And I watched her dial 911, and her little knuckles, they looked like mealworms. They looked like her fingers looked like they had no knuckles at all. And she's trying to dial 911, and before she can finish, the phone starts ringing and we answer it. And it's 911 on the other end asking us for help. So I'm telling her, like, hang up, hang up. So she
Hmm.
hangs up, and I know I can't trust her. So I grab the phone, I roll over the desk underneath, and I'm calling 911 and I'm telling them as quickly and concisely as I could what's happening, that they have to get down here ASAP. Next thing you know, I'm running in the dark. It's nighttime already, and I'm going down this sidewalk, and to the left is this vacant lot, and there's nothing but stadium lights. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I watch people pour into it. They all look like they had just woken up, and I remember the details too, like people maybe in their pajamas or sweatpants, women with messy buns, people rubbing their eyes of sand, just wondering where the hell are we and why are we standing here? And just ahead of me on the sidewalk, I see these two little girls just kind of staring at the crowd, hiding, but observing. And I just thought at that moment, how funny it is that here we are, we occupy this earth, and we can take each other out of it like a game of Red Rover, just with violence or a gun. And
Yeah.
so at that moment, when I see those girls and I see the crowd forming, everything goes black and it's in slow motion. And all of a sudden, I feel very calm. And in this black void, I just feel at home and it's very beautiful. And I have this thought in my dream that change is very much, hold on a second. Because the gunman I was worried about, I thought to myself, death must be a lot like being born. It's very painful and scary at first, but on the other side, there's beauty. And so that was kind of a metaphor for change. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden in this dream, I'm back to where I am, and rounding the corner is ambulance and police cars, and their lights were going, but they weren't rushing. They weren't in a rush, and all of a sudden in the dream, I realized that the gunman was dead. I
Hmm.
woke up, and I swear everything about the dream made sense to me instantly. The man who was angry in the beginning of that was me. My ex-husband is my boss's boss, and we work together. And so and the whole day before I had this dream, I was buzzing mad. I was so angry. And yeah, that was it. And the whole call with 911, that was like I was calling for help. I was trying to help my marriage. And there was this miscommunication. I could just not get 911 on the same page as me.
Hmm.
And the whole idea of death being painful, but also beautiful, like being born, was a metaphor for change. And I woke
Yeah.
up and there was this beautiful peace that came over me, and I was no longer afraid. It was very difficult to go through, but I just knew that, like anything, change is difficult, but
Yeah. I mean,
nothing we ever volunteer for, but it does change us in beautiful ways.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I know it's a
Thank
really
you.
personal thing. And
Ah, I think it was
ha-
made to be shared. It was like, oh God, how can I turn this into a blockbuster hit? No, just
Right?
kidding. Our dreams are so vivid to ourselves, and I hate telling my dreams to other people because it's usually like, you're floating down a river of gravy using a grape with a toothpick.
Yeah.
Nothing makes
It
sense.
doesn't
It's
sound
like,
too bad.
yeah, it's like trying to describe the way jazz tastes. So,
Yeah, right.
right.
How did that dream make you feel when you woke up? Like you recognized all the symbols, but like did you kind of feel calm and at peace, or like,
It
what
was.
were your
Okay, this was so cool because, at The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy wakes up and she says,
Mhm.
"And you were there, and you were there." That's exactly how I felt. And it's funny. I was meditating a lot, and I felt like I was getting a lot of channeled advice, like messages to just kind of help me through this. And yes, I'm very spiritual, and there's a part of me that kind of believes that dream was a divine dream. But I also understand that the brain is like a computer, and we'll keep working things through. We'll work things through until finally, we're able to switch that circuit where we're not constantly roaming that rudder where we get stuck. And
Yeah,
I honestly felt so at peace and so grateful for that dream. It was exactly what I needed. So,
that's
my
awesome.
takeaway is spend more time in tents.
I mean, I think that's a great way to, but yeah, definitely do that.
Be
I
with
mean, I think
nature.
the tent is really cool, because it was like probably the first time in a long time you had like a space that was yours, like you
Yeah,
were in full control over that tent, and like
I
you
hadn't
were still
considered
on
that, but you're right.
yeah, like, you were still on familiar ground, so like it wasn't like you were setting up a tent in some random new location that was scary. It was familiar, but it was yours, and this is something that I've experienced, and I feel like a lot of people who go through separation and divorce experience, especially if you've been in a relationship for a long time, is it's like it is a new beginning. And like going way back to what we said earlier about like sacrificing and having to give up on dreams and parts of yourself, and like those parts go dormant, like this is the first time for many people that those parts of themselves get to wake up, whether it be like
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's a phrase like it's the kid in the candy store phase, or the candy store phase after a marriage, right? Where you
Oh,
just go out
yeah,
and
I
like
remember
have
that
sex with
phase.
everybody, right? And like, but like there's a lot of people that
All of
like
these
they got married
options.
early. Yeah. But like they may have gotten married early, or like this was the first relationship they've ever been in, or maybe they were in a few, but
Exactly.
so like when they are at this point in life, they don't have much experience, and like it's really freeing and empowering, like they can make their life what they want, and they can do the things they want and experience the things they want to experience, like if your ex never liked sushi, you're like, well, I want to try sushi, maybe sushi's awesome,
Oh God, there are so many
like
things I didn't do just because my so it's a funny thing to say out loud, but we got a sleep number bed that
mhm.
February before it, and oh my God, my ex loved his sleep number bed, and I wanted to camp all the time, and here I was. He was on, his perfect little cloud that he invested in, whatever. But I'll tell you, I don't care how comfortable your mattress is, nothing compares to waking up to the sound of birds in the morning. It
Mhm.
was just the most it transformed me. And for the first time, I felt like, I am on this journey where I'm going to remember who I was. And I talk to a lot of friends who come out of relationships that have lasted a long time and who are going through divorce and separation because I feel like I'm on the other side of it. I feel so fortunate. And when it first happened, there was nothing I wanted than to be on the other side of it. I did not want to go through it. But well, to your point where you were talking about when you first a lot of people do get married young and they've been in the relationships a long time. Well, I kind of compare the end to this is going to sound really weird, but imagine like, and this is actually going to sound very pessimistic, I think, but imagine like a marriage is kind of like you're in this Easter egg, right?
Mhm.
And like you have a new life, you have a new place, and you're trying to conform almost to this thing. At least it was for me. Hopefully, not everyone's marriage is like this. But a separation is you kind of separate that yolk or the egg, and
Yeah.
you're this piece of foam, and all of a sudden you're expanding and taking your new form on in ways in which you forgot, and you're remembering who you were. And it's almost like coming out of amnesia. You're like,
Mhm.
I forgot I had this natural inkling to do blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's a painful and very beautiful process.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor, and
Right.
sometimes you find out that you were a Cadbury cream egg, and then it's just amazing,
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
right? Like, sign me up, but you never know.
Very true. Oh
I
man,
was
give me
made out
one
of
of those.
chocolate this whole time. Awesome.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So I know that we talked about I really liked your metaphor about looking at houses and, does this have all of the things I need? I'm just kind of curious, and I'm probably putting in the spot. So this is the risk you take when you come on.
I don't mind. It's cool.
When you think about your perfect partner, somebody that you would commit the rest of your life to, which seems like a huge investment. What are some of the top so many traits? Like what are some things that you absolutely have to have?
So I need somebody that likes to do a lot of the same things that I like to do. Like, they don't have to like all of them,
Mhm.
but like I do a lot of I like to travel and explore, and so I want somebody that's going to appreciate the fireflies and the thunderstorms and like road trips and hike to see a waterfall, like, I and even just like taking a walk on the greenway and like stopping at the little babbling brook and like appreciating that for a few seconds. Like, I want someone that's going to be mindful and like appreciate the beautiful stuff around them all the time.
Right.
um, and I like somebody that wants to share those things, um, and travel is a big one, so like, there was a woman I went on a date with, and she was like, "Oh, I used to travel a lot and I just don't do that anymore." And I was like ever? And she's like,
How do
"Yeah,
you
I'm done with
stop?
that in my life."
Oh no,
I
what?
was like, check please, like, that's not going to work,
Oh, that's a hard
Yeah,
no. Like that's something, yeah, I can understand why
yeah,
that would be really important to you. There's so much to see in this
yeah,
beautiful world. Oh my goodness.
absolutely,
Ah,
and there's just so much to appreciate. And anyway, we could do a whole separate side topic about that, but
that's why you definitely have to come back. I'm having such a good time, and I feel like
no, I would love
there's
to.
so
Yeah, it'd be
much we
super
could talk
fun.
about. Oh
We
my
just got to
goodness.
pick like 3 or 4 topics and focus on those, because otherwise we're gonna go like,
Wait, is this INFJ telling an ENFP to focus? Do you even know who I am? No, you can't. That's like a superpower I've yet to harness. I would love to
stick with me. We'll figure it.
focus.
We can teach each other stuff, right?
Okay, I think so.
Symbiotic. Yeah,
This
we'll
could be
we'll
the
make that
Heather
happen.
and Ian show permanently. I like this.
Absolutely.
All right.
Um, oh, one thing I wanted to. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
there's so many things I want to talk about, but
We're not going anywhere. It's fine. And honestly, people
sweet.
do like long shows sometimes because they do other things and they're just listening. I'm happy to have you here. Tell me.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we were just talking about, like rediscovering those parts of yourself that were dormant, or the things you were never able to enjoy with your spouse because they didn't like them or whatever. And I'm not pushing polyamory over anything, and I'm not saying monogamy is bad, but because they're both beautiful, like I said, and people are wired differently. But one of the things that for me I find so enjoyable and rewarding about polyamory is that you can find partners that do like to do those things with you.
Mm.
So like, if you have, like, let's say, I do get married, which I really hope to, and
Aw.
like my girlfriend has like pretty much everything, all the traits I could want. Like, there's a notion in polyamory that like, well, isn't one person enough for you, or what is that person missing that you have to go then out and seek, and that's not really the case. It's just people are different, you know
Absolutely. Yes,
but
absolutely.
there are parts of yourself that, like, your partner may not be as into it as you are,
Mm.
so like, I like to throw a lot of parties, and like, I'm an introvert, but I love being the house that people feel comfortable gathering in, and
Actually, I
like,
don't know if you know this, but just aside, did you know that INFJs, and I'll have to look this up to be sure, I think that they're the most extrovert of all the introverts.
are they? Oh,
I,
wow.
I I could be wrong. If I am, I'll do a correction in the show notes. Anyway, go on. I find that
No,
interesting.
I'd love to, if you find good research, please send it to me, because I'd love to know about that. um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so I like to, like, host parties and stuff, and like, my girlfriend currently, like, she's also an introvert, and she is also very social, but she doesn't have as much energy for the parties that I do. Like, she would much rather have like a small party of like 4 to 6 super close friends than like throw a big party of like 20 or more people,
Right.
and for me, I find both parties to be rewarding. But, as the military brat who was always the outsider, like as an adult, I love being the space that people feel comfortable gathering in. And I love facilitating people meeting other people. And so,
Oh,
like, when I throw these parties, like, I'm in the single parents group, like I said, and like, I'll have like a big Halloween party, and I'll just invite anybody who wants to come to the Halloween party, and they can like use my house as the home base, and they can like go trick or treating around my neighborhood because it's a loop and it's awesome, and
I love
so
that.
like
I think that's
it's
so cool.
it's really fun.
I am going
But
to your
so
house as soon as
you
Halloween
totally
is a
should,
thing
Heather.
now. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
you have a standing invitation.
Yeah, oh my God, Halloween's my favorite too. And your house sounds like fun. I bet you give out the good candy. Just
I try.
saying. Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
I'm
no,
getting way
but
off topic, but yeah. So I love doing the. Sorry, I probably interrupted
no,
you, but
thank you. You know what? You got to reel me in, babe. Like I'm really glad that you're like off topic. No, back to your girlfriend and having everything you want, but these are the things
yeah,
in your heart that you're like, if I had to give this up for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be happy.
yeah, and so, yeah, but we have had situations where, like, I'm like, hey, I want to do 3 different events this weekend.
Mm.
Like it's my weekend without kids. I want to live it up. So I want to go to a party on Friday. I want to host something on Saturday, and I want to go to like a brunch on Sunday or whatever it might be.
You've got a lot of
And
energy.
I mean,
Wow.
not always, right? But
No, but I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah.
but she will be like, that sounds awesome. Pick one of those, and I'll go to that with you.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
fair. And that's fair. She knows her
absolutely.
limits.
Right. And she's setting a clear boundary, and like I totally respect that. And I love her that she knows herself enough to be like, yes, I want to do these things with you. I that's really important to me and I know it's important to you, but I don't have the energy for this, but you please still do it. And that's another tenet I feel like a polyamory is like you don't ever want to limit your partners. Monogamy,
Right.
it's all about limits. It's you're not allowed to do this because we're in the relationship. Polyamory, I feel like is all about freedom. It's like you are free to do what you want. Just don't do anything that's going to harm us, or do
Right.
things in the best interests of, people that you love, and so,
Polyamory is very unencumbered and very like autonomy centric. It seems like you just
yeah, right. And that's kind of what I was saying, where women have a lot of power versus like polygamy, where it's the guy and all the women, like because of the way our dynamics work and sex too, and all the other things, like women, like a woman can hold up a green flag and say like, hey, I'm ready to date. And like they'll have 50 people lined up,
right.
right? I mean, not every woman and not all the time, but generally speaking, right? Women have those options. They have the power in that situation. Whereas like a
Right.
guy can hold up a green flag and be like, hey, I'm single, I'm ready to date. And like, hey, anybody, guys?
Tony in accounting still works here? Who the hell is that guy? Yeah.
Right, and
We
so in
didn't
that
know
way,
you
like,
existed until you held that flag up.
right, and so in that way, women do have a lot of the power, in this dynamic, and because they can choose who they're with, and
Right.
in a way that is also freeing because you can. Let me see if I can explain this properly. In a monogamous setting, if you met somebody new, you went on a date with them, you were like, yeah, they seem really cool, but you're always looking at it through the lens of like, is this somebody I would want to marry or have kids with or
Ooh,
spend my life
that's
with? you
interesting.
you hold everyone up to that, or sometimes it's, is this person better than my last boyfriend or whatever, but like
Hmm.
you always judge them based on like, is this person going to meet those goals? And if they don't, they're usually gone, right? But in a polyamorous sense, or any of the non-monogamous relationship styles, like you can meet somebody and you could be like, they seem super cool, I would love to hang out with them, maybe have sex with them, or whatever. Like it's not all about sex, that's a separate side conversation, but
Oh, sure.
like this person seems super cool, and like would I be able to live with them every single day? Like, do I want to marry them and have them be a forever partner? Maybe not, but like they're really freaking cool, and we get along, and like I would love to date them and like go do things with them, and like they might be the person that wants to go get sushi with me when my girlfriend does it, or they might be the
Right.
person that wants to co-host a Great British Bake Off party or whatever it might be, like
Your life
you know
sounds colorful. I love it. No,
I
but I,
try.
I felt that way too, where I think that yes, my lens has been colored by society where when I do date somebody, you do ask, would this person make a great parent with me? And do they have staying power? And can I trust this person? And yada yada. And very often we're not super mindful. Maybe we're very future focused. Like, where would this go with this person? Whereas, perhaps we should just enjoy the journey. And I think every
Hmm.
new person we meet, we learn something and we grow a new limb in which
Yeah.
we begin to flourish this like a beautiful spring tree. Like, we absolutely
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
really like this notion because God, I've loved so many people that obviously are not for, they're not, we're not married, but I would
Yeah.
never, ever undo any of those connections I've made. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so if you don't have to look at somebody through this judgment lens, right? Like, are they going to be my forever person? You can experiment. You can try people that you might not normally try,
Hmm.
right? Like, you can be like, yeah, I don't know that this is the type of person I would normally go for, or maybe they're not husband material, or maybe they're not, you know, spouse
Well,
material or whatever, but
yeah.
like they might be really awesome, and like you are sort of free to explore those things, you
I
know.
really like that notion, but I will say that I have kind of adopted that attitude this time around. Like, the
Hmm.
one time where I'm not like, I don't want to be in a relationship, I don't want to get married, but I'm curious. I
Yeah.
think the thing that scares me most though is I don't it seems like the guys that I've been seeing or talking to lately, they are ready to lock it down, right? They want to leash this Bengal tiger, and that scares
Yeah.
me. And so my part is I really don't like breaking it off or hurting people's feelings. And it's hard because
Hmm.
you never know the other how the other person's going to react to hearing like I'm wild about you. I think you're really awesome and I definitely want to hang out with you, but we this train stopped.
Yeah.
We have an onboarding
Yeah, there's an
schedule
expiration
here.
date, or there's like
Yeah.
a level that you can't cross with this person.
Kind of, yeah, yeah. So that is part of it where I would probably feel challenged in navigating it. But I because
Yeah.
we always take everything so personally too. And it's natural when somebody says they enjoy the exclusive company to somebody else over your exclusive company,
Hmm.
it's a little ego. But there's growth in that too, right? I think when
Yeah.
it comes to the ego and being tied to how you feel about yourself, you know, I don't I don't give a shit if you're not drinking my Kool-Aid. I know I'm cool. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually something it took me a long time to learn, is I always had like self-confidence issues, and through therapy and other stuff, like I have realized that like I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm still a hot cup of tea. So like the people that like my brand of tea are going to be into it. But like
I
just because,
am your new fan, and I will drink your tea all day long. I
thank you.
love that.
Right?
Well,
Everybody might
tea.
not like my brand, but doesn't mean I'm not an awesome brand, right?
I
So,
think I love it. What if you were a tea, what tea would you be? This is like I
oh
feel like
God,
this is a dating game question. A contestant number one, if you were a
right,
tea, what tea
right.
would you be?
I don't know. I mean, this is going to be colored because I don't really drink coffee, but I do like tea, and like usually I like an English breakfast or an Earl Grey,
I was
you
gonna
know,
say
or
English breakfast for you.
yeah, but
Maybe
like,
because
and
you were born in London. I don't know.
could be, yeah, it's coloring but I don't know that that's necessarily like I don't know what personality traits that imply. Like maybe I'm like a sleepy time because I'm like chill and like comforting, or I like to think that I might help people relax enough to you know I
If
don't know.
I could, I would say you were a chamomile, right?
Okay,
Because
yeah.
you're very earthy, but you have like you're very down to earth.
Hmm.
And but you have that umami sense to you, like you're welcoming, and yeah, you do comfort. And God, who doesn't love a good cup of chamomile? And
Right.
that's you, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
I love
I
that.
I kind of see you. I don't take this bad if you don't like this at all, but
Oh
I
no.
kind of see you like an orange spice. Have you had some of those?
I
I know
love
it
orange
might sound
spice.
weird.
No,
Well,
I
so
appreciate that. That's
the
cool.
reason I say that is because I'm a huge fan of all things citrus. Like I love citrus, and like I feel like when you have a good orange spice tea, like you get that hint of citrus, and you're like, oh, that's really exciting. Like that's really fun. And then you get the spice where it's like, ooh, that's kind of like it's kind of relaxing and at the same time it's exciting. You know, it's like a little bit
Spicy, yeah.
spicy, right? And
Oh,
so
I think
like
you just wrote poetry there.
I
I
might,
actually really like that analogy. I'm gonna own it.
you totally can. Um,
Oh, that's
but
cool.
one of the things, and I think I might have mentioned this to you earlier, is one of the things I've enjoyed about watching your show is like you get very animated and like the things that you love, you really do love. Like you're visibly you love it. You're just like I love this thing, and like you know your hands go and you can like
Rip it out of my
see the
skin.
joy in your face, right?
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
I have another friend Melissa who does very similar things, and I love that quality about her. You know, and like
That's cool.
I try to appreciate the things that I appreciate. And when I see other people that just like get so excited about something, like it's infectious and it's such a beautiful thing, you know?
Oh, thank you for appreciating that. I can't
Yeah.
tell you enough how, oh, yeah, I'm one of those highly sensitive people that make up 20% of the population. And, you know, my whole life people are like, you're too sensitive and blah, 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 and you startle easily. But the one thing about us highly sensitive people is when we love something, oh,
Hmm.
we drink it and we take it in and we sense it with everything in our beings. You know, I think that
Yeah.
going back to the MBTI, there
Yeah.
are turbulent people and there are assertive people where assertive
Mhm.
people have like this range, good, you know, happy, sad, and everything in between. But being a turbulent person, it's like, God, I know exactly what the color green tastes like, and I can experience things on a different plane. And it has its downsides because you know you're not among the norm, but what a beautiful experience it is.
Hmm.
And I really appreciate you saying that. I,
Yeah.
it's hard because you don't always feel seen, you know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, totally, you know, and I love that when I see people. And honestly, I feel like it's a pretty rare quality. Like, I feel like a lot of society, and that's another reason, sorry, my thoughts are scattered. That's another reason I say you're orange spice, because when you do get that hint of orange, it's like such like it's like a pop, you know, it's almost like a firework going off when you first taste it. You're like, ooh, and like, I feel like that's how you are when you're excited about something. You're just like, oh,
Oh,
I love that, you know, and
that's
like,
so cool.
you know,
Wow,
and
I
so,
feel so flattered. That's awesome. I really love that. Thank you.
yeah. Um, One thing I wanted to go back to and ask you about,
Yeah.
and feel free not to answer if it's too personal, but you said when you thought of getting married again, or even getting married the first time, you sort of felt like it was a death.
Yes.
So my question specifically with that is like, why did it feel like a death, or what is it that you felt like you were losing by getting married? That's the more important
The
question. What were
question
you
me is
losing?
now the questioner. I like it. No, thank you for giving me an opportunity to explain that because when I rewatch my shows, I realize, you know, there's no context behind that. So you know, who knows what the hell people are thinking. I really appreciate you saying that. And there are a couple reasons why, and I'm not 100% sure. I think about my MBTI, you know,
Mhm.
and us ENFPs, anyone with a P type personality, we don't like finality of things. We like to keep things open doors, right?
Yep.
And so I think this is that's a really good question. Um, I've always felt like it was the end of something, and I don't know why. I guess because I've never met anyone who really stimulates me mentally all the time. I just feel like with every relationship we hit a wall and we can't go any further. Um, but let me think about this one for a second. I really appreciate that. Um, oh, and also I feel too like I've never really met anyone who I can continue being myself with, you know, over a long period of time. And a lot of that's my fault because, oh, I take ownership of it because I become the caretaker and I get really excited about relationships sometimes that I pour a lot of myself into it. And next thing you know, I'm not writing anymore. I'm not creating. If there's somebody else in the picture, I start questioning, like, you know, what are they going to think if I'm making these YouTube videos, blah, 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 blah. And then I just kind of stop being myself. I don't know if it's possible that I might meet somebody one day who I can feel unencumbered and 100% myself at all times and appreciated and seen and understood. That's a very I don't know. Sometimes I think that it would be easier if I was just super normal. Like if I was just one of these people who were very satisfied with the status quo and going to work and coming home and watching Jeopardy. And sometimes you know, I feel kind of sad that I'll never, my life is going to be so eccentric and unconventional that what do I give up um, by
You
having
give
that?
you
You
give
know,
up mediocrity,
I give up mediocrity. Amen. Screw off mediocrity. But yeah,
right?
I guess I just got to keep remembering that, who I am. I never want to lose who I am again. In my marriage, I totally forgot who I was. And when I
Hmm.
finally came out of that fog, it was like, oh, I got to promise this person, I got to stay true to myself that I will never lose me again. Because
Yeah.
not to
And
sound
well,
egocentric, but I love me. I'm comfortable in my skin. Finally, it's
good.
taken 37 years. God.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's how relationships should be. Like I feel like
Absolutely.
you should love somebody for everyone they are without wanting to change them. And like they may have some quirks, they may have some things that maybe drive you bonkers, but like you should love them as a whole person. So like you talking about, you said like, well, what will they think, if I want to do this, or what will they think if I behave this way? Like I would love to be in relationships where, and I feel like my girlfriend and I have this, where I don't really worry about that because I know that I love the person for everything they are. And whatever they do, even if I disagree with it, like I'm not going to be judging them for it. And I don't ever want anyone I'm with to worry about what I'm going to think and have that ever limit what they're doing,
Hmm.
ever. And that's something that, again, I think is nice about polyamory, and maybe you can do this in monogamy too, but it's like you support your partner in whatever
Yeah.
they want to do. So like if my girlfriend wants to go out and, go date some new guy or some new girl or whoever she wants to date, like I support that. And I love her and I want her to have the most fulfilling, awesome, amazing life she possibly can.
I
Right.
was
And
just going to
like,
say that you must love her so much to realize that it's almost like loving something enough to let it be free. And
yeah,
that's a very difficult thing.
right.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't mean they're not going to come back. Like, and she comes back, all the time, like, because, and the same, vice versa, but like, if you love something, set it free, like you have to trust that that person is going to, either come back to you or they're not, and if they don't, that's a different thing and that's fine too. But
But
like,
it's learning to
you need to,
accept what the natural flow is. If they don't come
yeah,
back,
right.
accept it. Yeah.
And not controlling their behavior. That's the big
Right.
thing. It's like that ownership goes away. Like my girlfriend does not need my permission to go out with anyone she wants to go out with, and vice versa. Like
Wow. I can't
we
even
would love,
imagine this. Yeah.
like
This is great.
yeah, like we would love if we tell the other person, and like we tell each other everything, like there are no secrets. But like, so like if she has a new date, like she'll be like, hey, I matched with this guy, he seems really cute, and I'll be like, ooh, let me see, what is he like, and like, like I'll know how the date goes and, potentially everything they did, to a point. There are some things that
Right.
are
Right.
private between two people, but, like I want to know about that, but I don't want to limit any of her experiences. And so
I think
I want
that's
her to
so
have,
humane,
I mean,
actually.
I think so. Like I feel like more than anything, polyamory, it's a whole different way to view the world. Like it really is like a mental shift. And like when I made that shift, like I looked at everything differently. It wasn't just relationships, like you don't own anybody, like you can't control anybody, like you tend to your side of the street and like the neighbors tend to their side of the street, and like live and let live and all those like adages that are cliche, but like they're kind of true, and it's nice to be free to explore whatever you want to explore. And
Yeah.
like I said, if my girlfriend goes out on a date, she doesn't need my permission, like we love each other and we talk to each other almost every single night before bed. So like if she went out on a date, she might tell me like, or I'm the same if I went on a date, but like she might send me a message and be like, hey, I think I may stay over here. I probably won't be able to talk to you before bed, but I love you so much and we'll talk tomorrow. And like that's enough reassurance, that like I know she loves me and thinks about me and whatever else. And like I try to provide that for her, and part of what we've spent lots of time communicating to each other, like the reassurances that we need, and like she needs that
Yeah.
reassurance. If I go out on a date or I sleep with somebody or I go out on a weekend trip with, somebody new or whatever it may be, like she's just like, I just need reassurance when you get back that like you still love me and you're still into me, pretty quickly,
That makes
so
a
like
lot of
maybe the
sense.
next
Yeah.
day, and so like as long as she gets that reassurance, like she's totally fine with it, and she would be okay if she didn't get it, but that's when the jealousy might come into it,
Right.
and like
Yeah.
I think of Brene Brown, and she
Oh,
has
I
like
love Brene Brown. Yeah.
she's cool, right?
She's
But
so cool. She's awesome. Yeah.
there, one of the things that really stuck out to me that she says all kinds of amazing things, but one of them was the story you tell yourself,
Mm.
and there, I don't know if you've seen this particular show, but there's like, I'm getting off topic, but she
It's
and
okay.
her
I
husband,
feel like we can go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. I
yes,
love it though.
right.
I'm loving all of this. Yeah.
So like she and her husband like swam across a lake, and they both love swimming, and they swam all the time, and it's a thing that they've done their whole lives together, right? And so like they're swimming across this lake, and it's a really long lake, right? Like it's pretty big, and like they're kind of in the middle, and she calls up to her husband who's a little bit ahead of her, and she's like, "Hey, honey, I love you. This is really fun. I'm glad we're doing this." And like he doesn't really say anything, right? And they keep swimming, and then a few minutes later, she's like, "I'm so glad we're here. I love you so much. Thanks for doing this." And again, he doesn't say anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Why is he not saying this? Does he not love me anymore? Is he bored of me?" And like she starts telling herself all of these stories that are
Mm.
all her insecurities and fears, right? And she gets to the other side and she like talks to her husband and she's like, "Hey, I said I loved you twice and like, felt like I was really being, genuine with you and sharing with you and you completely ignored me." And he was like, I honestly didn't hear you. He's like, I got like a pain in my chest or something. And I was so worried that I wasn't going to make it across the lake that it was
Oh,
all I could do to
wow.
focus on swimming. Right. And so like the story that she told herself was that he wasn't into her and she wasn't valuable and like all of these things. And she went down this really, negative self doubt spiral. Right. And
Yeah.
like that was not at all the case. And in his mind, he totally loves her. And if he had heard her and hadn't been, in pain or
I'm
he would
trying to
have
focus on
happily,
living. Yeah.
right, like he would have happily done that. And my
Oh,
my point being
wow.
that I feel like those are the things that if you have good communication and if you can reassure a partner that you are still into them, that's the kind of stuff that you can avoid are those stories of like, why didn't they text me after our date? Or why didn't they say
Right.
goodnight? Did they not like me anymore? And like it's almost never that case. It's almost always something completely irrelevant or, something erroneous or whatever the word I'm looking for is, but it's not related,
No, I
right?
agree with you. And I feel like communication, I mean, not to sound trite, but I think assumption is the downfall of communication every time. We go around, yeah,
Absolutely.
we do assume a lot. And even when your relationship is great, things are going really well, we do a lot of assuming that the other person is on the same page as us. And I
Yeah.
tell my friends that it's just as important to check in with the other person when things are, at a high. Just always be communicating.
Always check in. Yeah.
ABC, always be communicating. I just made that up. Just kidding. I'm sure
You're
that
totally
exists
right.
somewhere.
Yeah. No, I mean, Heather, you're absolutely right. I mean, and I feel like
Wow, I like what you
that's,
just said. What did you just repeat that? No, I'm just kidding. I like
I
that.
said, Heather, you're absolutely right.
That's the kind of guy I'm looking for. Heather, you're absolutely right. Damn, those three.
Just remember, I'm a J, so if you're not right, I'm going to let you know. But
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And it's so funny because the kind of guy that I would like to find is the complete opposite of me. Not
mhm,
somebody who completes me, but somebody who compliments me, but also is not like me at all. Because if I had to date another me, holy shit, that'd be like two Diana Rosses convening for the stage, and I would have to kill him. So
that's awesome.
yeah, I drive myself crazy sometimes. I can't anyway, I don't know how much longer I have of juice. And
Oh yeah, that's good.
we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
I definitely need to have you back on the show. Like,
yeah,
you're
love to.
awesome.
Thanks you too. Yeah,
I'm your new fan. I can't believe that I met this stranger in a Facebook group and now we're best friends for life. I really do. I really think that you're so wise and I could talk to you all night long. But before I let you go, this is something I find really fun that I've been asking people is what's your anthem?
what's my anthem?
Yeah, give me a song to listen to later. Like, I want
Uh,
to know, like, what is coursing through your veins? What are you feeling right now? If something came on the radio, all of a sudden, you'd be like, man, I feel this with everything. Do you have
so
something like that?
well, there's a couple of songs that like I feel like are pretty personal and like meaningful in my life.
Mm,
One is "Who Wants to Live Forever" by Queen,
mm,
um, which I feel like speaks to my life changing without me necessarily having control over it. You know, like
yeah.
and you know like the military brat moving around thing, and you know more recently like the marriage ending. You know, it's like it's a beautiful song, and I really like that
Oh,
one.
I don't think
Um,
I've heard it. I will listen to that.
it's awesome. And the other one is what's Lindsey Stirling does a song. I forget what it's called. It's on the
Sing it
most
to
recent.
us.
It's on.
No, just
I'm not
kidding.
terribly agree, there is a. It's on the most recent Pete's Dragon soundtrack. Hang on, let me open up a tab because this is going to drive
Take
me
your
nuts,
time. Oh yeah, definitely.
and I want to like.
And while you're looking, that's okay. No pressure. While you're looking, I'll give you one too that you
I'd
should
love to
listen
hear it.
to. Yeah. And I actually didn't even think this one through, but what I would love to hear on the radio right now that I'm feeling, not a lot of people have heard this one. It's Hot Knife by Fiona Apple. And it's like
Okay.
the least Fiona Apple-y song of all the Fiona Apple songs, but um the beat kind of comes in like thunder at first. Like it's kind of it rolls, and she does this beautiful musical round, and there's a lot of poetry to those lyrics if you look it up. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it's very simple lyrics.
Yeah,
But my God, it makes you feel so many emotions. I just want to like do 100 push-ups and then punch a wall afterward. I don't
awesome.
know where my
I want
emotions
to
are
see
going.
that, Heather. You
I would
don't have
love
to
to
do
see
100
myself do
push-ups.
one push-up. Yeah. So
Maybe like three, and then you know
then
like we
punch a
should
wall,
make that happen,
take a shot of tequila, punch a wall.
right? Let's do it. Right?
It just gets me.
Who was it that you said sings that? It's called Hot Knife.
Fiona Apple. Yeah,
Fiona Apple. Okay,
it's
cool.
that song is alive. There's so many things happening there.
Cool. I'll listen to it. I love finding awesome new music.
Yeah.
Okay, so the song that I'm thinking of, it's called Something Wild, and it's by
Hmm.
Lindsey Stirling.
Ooh, I like something wild. Okay.
Yeah. Have you heard that one? So
No. Well, maybe I have. I'm definitely gonna listen to it though.
yeah, I would recommend it. I mean, it has a really fun, catchy beat, and but like it really speaks to me, and it's all about like you know like going off on pathways and maybe getting lost, but like finding your way home, you know, and like
Yeah.
for me that is Alaska, you know, and like I always kind of if anywhere I would consider geographically my home, it would be Alaska.
Really.
And so, yeah, and like, and every time I go see my brother who lives there or anybody that's there, like the second we touch down at the airport and I look out at like the mountains and the trees and the mist, I'm just like, oh, I'm home, you know, and like,
Oh.
so this song kind of evokes that feeling in me, you know, and it also sort of, it talks about like, you know, if you have trials in your life, you know, like centering again or like, you know, getting out of the dark times and coming back to like being happy and enjoying things. So anyway,
Oh.
it's a good song, and it you know, and also Jimmy Eat World, The Middle is a really good one.
Oh, good. That song reminds me of high school. I was a huge Weezer fan, and I remember Jimmy Eat
Yeah.
World came out around the same time. And
Hmm.
Weezer was my first concert. Oh my gosh. God, that's awesome. That's a hey, really good call. I forgot all about that song.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I just adore you. I really
Oh,
do.
thanks, Heather. You too. You're
No,
wonderful.
I really feel like I get so fortunate, and I don't know what to call this thing. You know, it's not exactly a podcast because it's on YouTube, but should it be like, I don't know, long talks with strangers, or
Sure.
shoot the shits, or whatever. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, but I am so grateful. This has been and you know what? I also want to tell you too, how very fortunate I am that number one, you shared that piece with me earlier, your poem, and also that you really you did some justice to the polyamory community. I
I
was
hope so.
ignorant. I didn't know. And so I think that that really helps. So kudos to you. And
Well, thank you. Yeah. I
I
hope
can't
so.
wait to have you back. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Love to do it. It's been a pleasure, Heather.
All right. And we'll
Thank
put
you
your
so
phone
much.
number in the show notes.
There you go.
Just kidding.
Oh no.
Well, let's talk again really soon.
All right. Have a great night, Heather. Thanks.
You too, sweetheart. Bye.
Okay, bye.